We had a full night of baseball on Wednesday. And yes, it's extraordinarily early. But these games count just as much. And if you want to be a surprise team, it's good to surprise early. But it's no surprise what you're listening to right now. This is Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB. Your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode, we are going to be dropping it on the 21st day of April. It's late April, everybody. It's getting close to summer and close to my summer break as a teacher. And we're moving on as the baseball season is entering its second or third week. And a couple of things are already beginning to gel and look clear, even though, again, this is way too early to make any grand statements. But there's a couple of things that caught my eye. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on both Twitter and Instagram. And thanks so much for making us your first listen, as we're available on all your free podcasting catchers. And you can follow my personal Twitter and Instagram account. My Twitter is Sully Baseball, and my Instagram is Sully Baseball Podcast. I'm, of course, your pal Sully. Hey, a very interesting game took place in Houston tonight, and I want to bring it up because, first of all, it was a weird game in that almost all the action took place before the Astros even came up to bat. The Astros went up against the Angels, and Shohei Ohtani was the pitcher for the Angels and the leadoff batter. And as we're now have changed the DH rules that he's allowed to stay in the game even after he's been removed as a pitcher. And the Angels scored 6 runs before the Astros even came up to bat. Jake Odorizzi couldn't throw a strike. He walked 4 batters in 2/3 of an inning and also let up a pair of hits. And he was taken out after the first inning. Ohtani drove in a pair of runs himself. And then Ohtani threw 5 perfect innings. He wound up letting up a hit in the 6th, but let him finish the 6. 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. And he reached base 3 times. So only 2 Astros reached base, but he reached base 3 times, drove in a pair. And with that, the Angels won a series against the Houston Astros. And the Houston Astros have had the Angels number the last few seasons. We'll just go back to last year. And, and the Angels, to be fair, were not really a contender last year. And the Astros wound up winning the division. But I've talked very frustratingly about the fact that the Angels have the best player in baseball, at least of the last, at least of the 2010s, the last decade. The best player in baseball was, Mike Trout. You had a hard time finding any argument against that. And yet they've not been able to put together a pennant contender. And let's just go to last year, the 2021, which was the first full season of Joe Madden as the manager of the Angels, because he was the manager during the truncated season. And hold on, I'm going to go to scheduled results. I'm going to baseballreference.com, single greatest website in the history of the planet Earth. And I'm going to scroll down here, and I'll see that the Angels against the Houston Astros last year, drum roll, went 6-13. They played the Astros 19 times and lost 13 of those games. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to, if they had reversed those, they would have been a pennant contender, but they were 77-85. They were hovering close to 500 with a couple of more wins. And the fact of the matter is they didn't win, and they were not really contenders. Well, the Angels just won a series in Houston, and they did so with a convincing 6-0 win on Wednesday. As I said, powered by Ohtani, both on the mound and at the plate. Now, remember, the Astros started the season in Anaheim, and the Astros won 3 out of 4. So it looked like more of the same. But an interesting thing has happened since that, losing 3 out of the first 4 games, is the Angels won a pair of games against Miami. They won a 4-game series against Texas. They've won this series against the Astros, and right now sit by themselves in first place. Now, is it absurd to bring up the fact that I'm looking at the standings at this point? Sure. Yeah, it's absurd. If I can point out that the magic number, I believe, is 154 for the Angels to win the division. Yeah, it's insane to say that. Can this all be forgotten sooner rather than later? Yeah. But here's something I will say about the sample size of 1/16 of the season already passed. If the Angels, who virtually nobody is picking to win the division, are going to have any hope of being contenders, they're going to have to win some games that they have no business winning. Going into Houston, the team that dominates them, the team that's the defending American League champions, and doing so without Mike Trout, who's injured and missed these last few games, and losing the first game of that series convincingly 8-3, and then coming back and outscoring them, 13-2 over the last couple of games, and then looking up and knowing they have 3 games at home against Baltimore, who, unless they're playing the Yankees, are an insanely beatable team, and this year is no exception. If the Angels are going to have any hope of putting a surprise contender on the field, they're going to have to win some of these games early. Get themselves that little bit of confidence of going, let's see if we can win some games here. Let's not be blown out early. Let's go into May with at least a sense of, hey, maybe we're not so bad. Maybe we're not so bad. And remember, the Astros and Seattle are probably going to be their 2 biggest competitors to win the division. So as many as the head-to-head games as you can win, you know what? That's a positive thing. Right now, they've played 7 games and they've won 3 of them. Now, granted, the Astros still have the slight advantage. But when you go into a game, sorry, it's to scratch my nose, and you don't have Trout, you're in their home park, you lose that first game, and you wind up winning the series. This is the sort of thing that could spark that early, what if we're doing okay? The rest of the lineup picked up the slack with Trout gone, and against a very, very good team. If you're going to be a surprise contender, you're going to have to win these games. Just like the other thing that I've noticed this early in the season is the general sense I have of the National League versus the American League has already come up to the surface. The American League is going to be teams all bunched together, and the National League has some top-heavy teams and some crap teams. Sorry to use that bad language. We're starting to see teams like the Dodgers go off, and they've won, 9 of their first 12 games and just look fantastic. We've seen the Mets also win 9 of their first 13 games. They lost today to San Francisco, but they still look like a solid team. You see the Central, you see the Cardinals and the Brewers are off to the fast start, and everyone else is sort of hovering around, splitting them. You're starting to see the good teams you expected already moving to the top, and some of the bad, mediocre teams starting to drift down. An interesting thing to see will be Joe Girardi and the Phillies. Will they be contenders? Because they're off the they won today against Colorado. You'll hear that in our recaps in the second part. But you're starting to see the teams you expected to rise to the top of the National League doing so. Just like the American League, we all predicted was going to be a scrum. And a bunch of teams, no great team, no really bad teams. Even the Orioles, who are probably going to be the worst team, have a ton of prospects who can come up and maybe start to surprise. And you're starting to see they're all bunched together. And winning games you have no business winning is so critical in the American League. In April, May, June, July, it's not just in August and September. You got to pile up these wins. The Yankees had a win like that the other day when Garrett Cole was garbage the first couple of innings in the game against Detroit, was taken out in the second inning, and then the bullpen kept Detroit off the board for the rest of the game. The Yankees had no right to win that game, but they did. And guess what? You're probably going to forget that game, just like people are probably going to forget this game against Houston. But if we get to the final few weeks of September and you see the Yankees are battling out just like they did last year, and you see the Angels are scratching and scratching to get one of those playoff spots, I want at least one part of your brain, one synapse, to remember these series in April, where some of these teams won the games they had no business winning. They reached down, they found a little bit of resolve, a little bit of grit, and won the games that just should have been an L, and no one would have looked at another way if those turned into L's. You remove Mike Trout from the Angels lineup. Garrett Cole wets the bed, and still you walk away with a W. These are the games, I'm telling you, especially when you start seeing the teams all clumped together. Got to pile these wins up. Every team's going to win a bunch of games. The worst teams in baseball are going to win 50, 60 games. The best teams in baseball are going to lose around 60 games. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. It's the middle group there. It's that middle 60, 40, 50, 60 games, which could bounce either way. If you pile those up early and you're not scrambling for them late, look at, I'm not even an Angels fan. I'm clearly not a Yankee fan, but I find it intriguing when the teams that know they're going to be in a scramble win. And if the Angels can do this, look at the main thing. I'm not even an Angel fan. As I said, I want to see Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout in the postseason. And the main thing is I'm looking for is to see Mike Trout get a ring. I like it when stars get rings. I like it when anyone worthwhile gets jewelry. And hey, one great place to get jewelry for someone you love is BlueNile.com. Shop for that special person in your life for earrings, bracelets, or gemstone pendant necklaces. At BlueNile.com, you can easily navigate thousands of fine jewelry options at every price point. BlueNile.com has jewelry experts on hand 24/7 via phone or chat, and they can help you find a memorable gift at any budget. When you commit to a piece, so do the folks at Blue Nile. Guaranteed service and repair for life. In fact, they have a diamond price guarantee. Contact Blue Nile to compare a competitor's diamond against one of ours. And in most cases, Blue Nile can meet or even beat their price. So this Mother's Day, get your ma something she will treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. At Locked On MLB listeners will get $50 off any $500 purchase. This podcast is exclusive, but only good through Mother's Day. Use promo code Locked On. That's promo code Locked On, plus every order is insured, ships for free, and arrives in a discreet package that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com today. And hey, while we're here, I want to just say thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. Recaps of Major League Baseball games with analysis from our local experts, taking fans through the season like no other network. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, let's bounce around the league and listen to some of the other Locked On hosts as they recap the games that played on Wednesday night. And we are going to start with Ben Kaspick of Locked On Giants.
Carlos Rodon continues to look like a legitimate Cy Young contender as he goes out there and leads the Giants to victory tonight. Ben Kaspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. It was a total team effort, but Carlos Rodon just continues to be extremely impressive. Now he has 29 strikeouts in his first 3 starts with the Giants, the most any pitcher has ever had in their first 3 starts with San Francisco, a team that has had a lot of great pitchers run through here. And it was a team effort all the way around. The offense broke through. Brandon Belt got the first ever hit he's ever had on his birthday, and it was a home run. Joey Bart had a key caught stealing against Starling Marte, who led the world in stolen bases last year, including success rate. So great win, and now the Giants have a chance to go out there and potentially split this 4-game series with a win tomorrow. So we'll talk about all of that on tomorrow's Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
Well, the Dodgers are back. What's up, everybody? It's Jeff with Locked On Dodgers. The Dodgers finished their series win against the Braves with a 5-1 victory this afternoon. Had a shutout go, actually had a one-hitter going until the 9th inning. The Braves got back-to-back doubles to score a run. Up to that point, their only hit had been an infield single. Tony Gonsolin looked great today, went 6 strong innings, just the one hit allowed, couple walks, but also a couple double plays. I think he faced one over the minimum. Looked absolutely great on a day that they needed it, because we found out that Andrew Heaney is on the injured list, which means Tyler Anderson is going to have to jump into the starting rotation instead of being the piggyback partner with Tony Gonsolin. So Gonsolin's outing was definitely very welcome. Freddie Freeman had another home run. Cody Bellinger had 2 more extra base hits. Mookie Betts had a nice hit. All in all, the Dodgers spread out their offense more than they have at some points this season. It was kind of fun to see. And Dodgers get the series win. They now have a day off on Thursday before they head into San Diego to face that team that plays at Dodger Stadium South. So be sure to check out Locked On Dodgers tomorrow morning, like you do every weekday morning. Vince and I will have all you need to know about this game and maybe some thoughts about heading into San Diego. So make Locked On Dodgers your first listen every day. And thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.
Getting the job done. What's going on, guys? Javier Reyes here of the Locked On Padres podcast. A sweeperoozy palooza today as the Padres defeated Cincinnati Reds by a score of 6-0. Thanks to, in large part, Mackenzie Gore going 5 shutout innings, striking out 7 on the day. Yes, it was the Reds, but still threw a little bit more of a pitch mix, not just all fastballs this time. I thought the curveball and slider looked awesome at times. And also, the day of Jurickson Profar, a very surprising development for the Padres this year. He's been awesome. He hits a home run. He makes a run-saving outfield assist, and he stole a base in the game too. Profar has been awesome. Love that dude. He's got the smile that brights up your world like nobody else. So hopefully he can keep it up and be a decent contributor for the Padres this year. And otherwise, it gets trickier now as we're off to the Dodgers, but going to be breaking down not just the Dodgers, not just the Reds, but all things Padres, of course, guys, on Locked On Padres. So be sure to check it out. Woo!
Hey, guys, Astros win. The Astros win. Oh, wait, they didn't win? Oh, they were shut out? But it was Space City Day. Oh, the uniforms didn't help? They were the most sold Space City uniform in Nike history. Oh, that doesn't mean anything? Well, Jake Odorizzi came out and just did awesome, gave up 6 runs. I think he was going for a record in the first inning, and then the bullpen came in and shut out the Angels after that. Shohei Ohtani took a no-hitter into the 6th inning before surrendering his first hit by Jason Castro. And the Astros offense is on the IL just like Jose Altuve. But hey, you know what? I'm always positive, always Stros. So make sure you tune in to Locked On Astros. We're your team every day. They are our ride or die. Make sure you make us your first listen and check out Eric and I as we wrap up every game, whether they win or lose. Houston Astros are 500 now. Let's go.
Well, the Orioles still can't hit, but they did win a game as the O's beat the Athletics 1-0 in Oakland on Wednesday night. Connor Newcomb here, host of the Locked On Orioles podcast. The O's get an unearned run in the 5th inning on a McKenna double, and then Gutierrez hits a ball that was initially ruled an RBI single. Then, of course, it was an error. And the O's go 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, but it didn't matter because O's pitching throws their 3rd shutout of the year. Jordan Lyles, 5 scoreless innings. Then the combination of Dylan Tate, Paul Fry, Brian Baker, and how about Jorge Lopez? I gotta say, that's the best I've ever seen Jorge Lopez pitch. He gets the final 5 outs with 3 strikeouts. Stuff was absolutely nasty. I think the Orioles have cemented their new closer in Jorge Lopez, and he helps them to a win over the Athletics. We'll break it all down on tomorrow's, Thursday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
Hello, it's Jeff Ellis of Locked On Guardians with my co-host, Nacho the Cat. You want to wave to the crowd? The Guardians hadn't played in 2 days. We got a doubleheader today. And a little bit surprisingly, against a team as good as the White Sox, they managed to win both games. The first game started out absolutely ridiculous. The Guardians scored a run in the first off of error, walk, and I believe like a sac fly. It was not. I just remember looking at it and being like, "This is ridiculous." They followed that up with 9 runs in the next inning before an out was even recorded. They come back in game 2, and Tristan McKenzie has a no-hitter into the 5th inning, ends up going walk double to get taken out of the game. Some command issues for him, but again, another brilliant start. Bieber had a strong outing. Even though velocity's down, he's still being effective. RBIs are a awful stat for player evaluation. Jose Ramirez having 20 of them just speaks to how much better the top of the lineup is, how much better than a year ago when you have the table setters, when you have someone like Miles Straw from the start, when you're adding Stephen Kwan, when you had Owen Miller when Kwan was out. We didn't even talk about COVID. We'll talk about that on the show today, as that's decimated the roster. A whole mess of roster moves. And again, after losing 3 of the Giants, they come back and beat the White Sox. Baseball is a funny game sometimes.
Rock on Rockies fans. Paul Holden here from the Locked On Rockies podcast. Well, you knew it was going to happen at some point. The bullpen explosion, the bullpen implosion, whatever you want to call it, it finally happened for the Colorado Rockies today, as they are unable to bounce back after giving up 5 runs in the 7th inning. I think it was, 7th inning. And German Marquez giving up the long ball, more long balls than usual, more long balls than he can. So unfortunately, the Rockies don't get the sweep, but they do get to fight back a little bit. They do have some positive type of energy where they come back and fight and score some runs. But, you're not going to win them all, and the Phillies just got the Rockies today. They had some big opportunities late, but the schedule still ahead for the Rockies is favorable, so they should be able to keep getting some wins. First big road trip of the year, though. How will the Rockies respond after dropping the last one at home to move to 8-4 on the season? We'll break it all down right here on Locked On Rockies.
This is Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and the Yankees beat the Tigers 5-3, and it wasn't a painful game to watch. Still wasn't totally enjoyable, but there were some good moments, like Anthony Rizzo hitting a home run. That's always nice to see. Aaron Judge getting a big hit with runners in scoring position. The Yankees actually had 2 of those hits. I know. I can't believe it either. Luis Severino lasted 5 innings, but he didn't get the decision. Chad Green coughed up the lead, allowed the Tigers to tie the game, but then the Yankees broke that tie, and Green ended up getting the win. Now, Miguel Cabrera is a hit away from 3,000. Clay Holmes prevented him from getting 3,000 by striking him out in his last at-bat in the bottom of the 8th. So, Yankees have one more game against the Tigers. Will Miggy get hit number 3,000 on Thursday afternoon? Should be interesting. We'll have the full recap of this game and a preview of that game on the next Locked On Yankees.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And in the end, thank you, Stacey Gotsoulias, who, if I'm looking at my schedule correctly, is going to appear on tomorrow's podcast. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Yankees. And I hinted my thoughts of the Yankee pitching staff as they won that game that Garrett Cole blew the other day. And let me tell you something. When they had Garrett Cole pitching so badly up front, I thought it was a surefire bet that the Yankees are going to blow that game. And if you're going to make any bets, go to betonline.net. It's your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports development, league reviews, and news, including this year's NBA playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more of the trends in action. BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, folks. Well, it's one of my favorite kind of days in baseball. I love Thursdays in baseball because there's so many getaway games, which means, what does it mean? It means day games. And if you live here in California, that means really early games. And so we're going to see a bunch of day games being played in Major League Baseball, starting with the Detroit Tigers and the New York Yankees, locking antlers. Yankees have looked pretty good, especially when you consider all the things that are not going right. Again, this is maybe a little preview of what Stacey are going to talk about, but it's like you see the fact that they can't hit. Their ace isn't pitching particularly well. and yet they have a winning record, which means other people are picking up the slack. And like I said, if you continue winning games like that, that's a positive thing. The other New York team, the Mets, are off to a great start, but again, so are the Giants. Carlos Carrasco has been one of the best feel-good stories of the year, as he's been outstanding pitching for the Mets. Anthony DeSclafani is going to be pitching for San Francisco. The hard-hitting Guardians. Plesac is pitching against Cease of the White Sox. Again, if the Guardians want to win the American League Central, they got to beat the White Sox. Whether they're beating them in April or beating them in September, these are critical games if the Guardians want to have images of a division title dancing in their head. The Red Sox and the Blue Jays are facing off again. That is a rubber game of that series. Tanner Houck is going up against Gausman. The Twins and the Royals, Ryan against Greinke. It's great to see Zach Greinke for the Royals again. He just looks right in the Kansas City uniform. I mentioned the A's and the Orioles. The Blackburn is pitching against Wells. Hey, let's avoid all the topics about the A's attendance, all right? It's kind of a lame story, and it's just trying to set up a fall for the A's to get them the heck out of Oakland. I want no part of that. The Nats are playing the D-backs, Rogers versus Davies in that. The Marlins, who can't buy a run. Oh, my God. Another Alcantara start got flushed on the toilet the other night. Lopez, who's been fantastic so far, is going up against Hicks of St. Louis, who are looking to keep pace with Milwaukee, who are not playing on Thursday. The Pirates and the Cubs are playing. Wilson against Leiter. Yes, Leiter Jr. is pitching. And then the final game is going to be Gonzalez pitching for Seattle, Hearn pitching for the Texas Rangers. Rangers don't look very good. They're off to a terrible start. And those big, huge contracts they signed for Seager, for Marcus Semien, for John Gray, so far has meant 9 losses in their first 11 games. Is the manager on the hot seat? I don't know. What kind of expectations were there? Must be something if they spent all that money. But hey, thanks so much for listening. We went around the horn. Look at what happened in baseball. Either tomorrow or the next day, we're going to have Stacey Gatsoulias to talk a little bit about the Yankees. And then inevitably, we're going to be talking about some pop culture things. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. You can follow us at Locked On MLB Pod on, well, everywhere, on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Bouncing around the leagues and talking about these games and reminding you when everything's going to be jammed tight at the end, it's important to win these games, especially the ones that seem like lost causes. This has been Locked On MLB for the 21st day of April, 2021. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.